Hello. You guys okay? Hello. Welcome to the folk night. I'd like to thank Jimmy for having me. There's a lot of other acts tonight as well. My name is Guy J. Jackson, and I do little stories, so I'm going to come up between the bands and read you guys some little stories, as it were. Yeah, Peckham Rye, cool, huh? I haven't been to Peckham Rye before. Apparently, Peckham Rye is a Cockney rhyming slang for tie. I just found that out. In case you didn't know, it means English. Okay. They got the kid addicted to doing laps around the asphalt triangle in the park. Round the kid would go in his blue, on his blue and yellow and brave bicycle, growing up to be a racing man someday, thought his dad. But then the kid went out without his dad one day, with his nanny instead, and took a spill. The nanny just kept reading her book, while the kid bent over gymnastically and wept into his Kermit the Frog sneakers. The dad couldn't explain the listlessness toward laps around the park the kid had from that day forth. The laps had changed from a joy to a chore for the poor kid. Pretty soon the kid lost interest, the dad lost interest, and the nanny began taking the kid to the park instead. There the kid got addicted to looking at girls' skirts. Instead of a racing man, he would someday grow to be simply racy. And being racy was nothing profound. Oh, these simple failures. He was an organized anarchist, with all his pamphlets stuck in one bookshelf, all his revolutionary tomes stuck in another bookshelf, the dishes done, the floor hoovered, his clothes put away, the bed made, his teeth brushed, him typing away, something that would either wind up a scree or a manifesto. They hung a flag out their front porch. That way, when the daughter sneaks home late, she can at least give a salute. Sometimes the daughter will talk to the great boys in the cafeteria. The streets are oddly empty for this early time of night. Wherever the first goes, the second will follow. Lose your baby to a book. Nice to sit here in lamplight thinking about who might be out there, way out there in those far lights you can see from your four-pane window. Yeah, maybe some fella slinking along under red street lamps, giving notice to his feet to not shuffle so much. And then just one more, and then I'll come back after the first band. Oh. Say his name twice, it's fun. Faluti Faluti. He had come to grief, he had arrived at it. It had entered his living room and stood there lurking hunched. He would go down to the sporting goods store and purchase some sort of hitting instrument, preferably a baseball bat, but a cricket bat would do, a tennis racket sometimes. Then on to the vegetable stand, loading up on round or roundish fruits, you know, the ones Sam along. Oranges, tomatoes, kiwis, apples, the smaller melons, plums, peaches, maybe even pears, if Faluti was feeling wild, if Faluti was thinking outside the sphere, hey. Then back to his living room, where the grief stood waiting in the corner. Not that the grief hadn't been always outside, mocking the false love of the afternoon, but more so in the quiet of the living room. And so there he went, Faludi, plucking the fruits from their carrier bags, tossing them into midair and whacking away with the bats or the rackets. And then the fury and hot tears would always ascend, and apples would put fresh holes in the front window, and fruit guts would strew the rugs, and peaches and plums would explode away from their pits, and then the pits would fly on to nick things and crack things, and oranges would bounce behind the couch and join the moldering piles of their rotten brothers from grief battles of past weeks. Yes, sir, the room stunk, because swinging angrily away at grief was Faludi's only use for the living room this year, and otherwise he kept its door shut and a towel under the door. And if he ran out of fruit, Faludi would beat whatever piece of sporting equipment to shards, smashing away at the walls, at the hearth, at the mantel, at the backs of chairs, going until his cigarette stock breath made raggedy noise coming choked from his throat. He would go until his cheeks and chin wore a shiny coat of tears and sweat. And for why? No, not because Faludi's grandmother had died, not because his father had died, not even because his best friend in all the world had died. No, Faludi had no grief for anything but the incident on Bonfire Day one summer ago, when Faludi had torched a pile of leaves and burned alive a cute and tiny hedgehog sleeping within. Thanks.